Allah, Allahu, Allahu, Allahu.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. Amma ba'du, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Brothers and sisters, Asalam O Alaikum. May the peace and blessing of Almighty Allah be upon you. Welcome to messages from the Holy Quran. My brothers and sisters, before I introduce Brother Azad Khan, who will do our main presentation, I would like to recite from the Holy Quran taken from chapter 30, verse 30. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. فأقم وجهك للدين حنيفا فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها لا تبديل لخلق الله ذلك الدين القيم ولكن الأكثر الناس لا يعلمون. صدق الله العظيم. In the name of Allah, most beneficent, most merciful. So, set thy face for religion, being upright in nature made by Allah, in which He has created man. There is no altering Allah's creation. That is the right religion, but most people know not. Certainly, Allah has indeed spoken the truth. Now, my brothers and sisters, for our main presentation, as I mentioned, we will have Brother Azad Khan. And Brother Azad Khan will be doing a subject to claims of the Holy Quran. So without ado, I hand you to Brother Azad Khan.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. Amma ba'du, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I testify that there is none to be worshipped but Allah subhanahu. He is alone and He has no partners. I also testify to the fact that our beloved Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is His servant and His messenger, also the Khatamun Nabiyyin. Dear brothers and sisters all, Asalam O Alaikum. Asalam O Alaikum means peace and blessing of God be with you. Once again, we are very happy to be here tonight and to be able to present to you another subject matter which we have entitled Two Claims of the Holy Quran. And as you will notice, in Islam, the Holy Quran makes a lot of claims. And some of these claims are made which have never been made before by any other scripture, by any other text. Tonight we'll be dealing with two such claims. And I hope and pray that we all benefit from our subject matter here tonight, Insha Allah. This subject matter is taken from the Holy Quran, like it's been read earlier. My brother recited from the Holy Quran, chapter 30, verse 30. And it's telling us, drawing our attention, it says, "So set thy face for religion, being upright." Being upright, the nature made by Allah, in which I create all of mankind. There is no altering Allah's creation. That is the right religion, but most people know not. Now, when you look in this ayat of the Holy Quran, what we will find is that this verse calls attention to all of mankind. All of mankind. The nature by which has made all of mankind. So all of mankind is addressed here. That you should turn your faces toward the deen, toward Islam, and to be upright. Because that's the nature in which Allah has made mankind. In other words, it is saying that mankind were all created with an upright nature, and that Islam is consistent with man's own nature. Therefore, there are two claims in this verse. One is that mankind were all born sinless, pure, with an upright nature. This is the very nature in which Allah has made them with. And two, it is saying that Islam is a natural religion of all mankind. This subject is a purely doctrinal subject. Like I would like to point out, it's purely doctrinal and it's taken directly from the page of the Holy Quran. Also, this is among the distinctive features of Islam. So we find comparatively, we will find among different religions, Hinduism, Christianity and Islam, doctrinal differences upon this subject. As far as we all know, Hinduism teaches that man is a product of his past deeds of a previous life. Man's present birth rests largely upon what he has done before in his previous birth, whether good or bad. Christianity, on the other hand, upholds the belief that mankind were all born in sin, and as such, all mankind are sinful from birth, with the exception of the first man, who also became sinful after being created. This then is the belief of these two great religions upon this subject, and this is also their doctrinal differences. Islam, on the contrary, upholds the belief that mankind were all born pure and sinless, and this finds support from the Holy Book itself. This verse is addressing all of mankind, whether we may be white or black, red or yellow, whether we have come from India or Arabia, Japan or China, etc., any part of this world. All mankind are equally addressed. When the last one is the word nas, is talking about all mankind. No particular people is mentioned there. All of mankind. Telling the entire human race that we have all been born sinless. And two, that Islam is a natural religion of all mankind. These are two very bold and meaningful claims which we shall be dealing with, dear brothers and sisters. For easy understanding, I have divided the details of this subject in two parts. One is based upon the claim and its consistency with the laws of nature. And two is what practical evidences were produced to justify the belief that Islam is indeed the natural religion of all mankind. Firstly then, let's look into the creation itself and see what evidences does the Holy Quran offer to justify this mighty claim. Holy Quran says in chapter 54:49, it says, "Surely we have created everything according to a measure," unquote. Here we are told that Allah is telling everything created by Allah subhanahu is created with a limited scope beyond for them. Within that scope, they were created with a measure. And again, in chapter 13, verse 2 and 4, it says here, I quote, "He it is who spread the earth and made in it firm mountains and rivers, and of all fruits. He has made in it pairs of every kind. He makes the night cover the day. Surely there are signs in this for people who reflect. And in the earth are tracts side by side, and gardens of vines and corn and palm trees, growing from one root and distinctive roots. They are watered with one water, and we make some of them to excel others in fruits. Surely there are signs in this for people who understand." Unquote. What are there in these verses of the Holy Quran for us to understand, brothers and sisters, and to reflect upon? Firstly, we are told by the Divine Being Himself that all things were created by Him. All things were created by Allah subhanahu. He is the creator of the entire universe. And that they were all created with their own qualities and limited to their own natures. They were all created with their own qualities and limited to their own natures. For instance, there are so many different plants and trees, corn and various vines, etc. They are all growing side by side, watered with the same water, but yet they will not bring forth the same kind of fruits. They will not. A mango tree will never bring forth jamun, or vice versa. It is all because of a simple reason that they were created with their own natures, and as such, it is pointless and absurd to expect jamun growing from mango tree. It will not happen because that's against their own natures. Similarly, if man were born sinful, then man's very nature would also be sinful, and it would be absurd to expect goodness or righteousness from him, which is truly a point worthy of our fullest consideration to ponder and consider and to understand. If this was so, then mankind generally would have been natural lovers of sin and unrighteousness. And it would be a sheer waste of time to preach and teach goodness to man, because this would be against his own nature. If we were born in sin, if mankind are sinful by birth, and that's our very nature now, how do you expect man to do goodness? His nature calls him to what is bad, because that's his very nature. But the Holy Quran says no, man has been born pure, with an upright nature, a sinless nature, man with lovers of righteousness, if that's his nature. Now let's see what happened. If we should try to develop the alertness and watchfulness of a watchdog in a lamb, we will be frustrated, don't you think? Trying to make a lamb into a watchdog is absurd. We may also be a lamb and a cub together in the same house and give them both the same training too. But after a few months, the cub will become conscious of the fact that his companion, the lamb, is food for him. And if not restrained, he will jump and devour the lamb. No one can blame the lamb for doing that. Why? It is because their natures are not the same, and they will submit only to their respective natures. A lion cannot behave like a lamb, and a lamb will not behave like a lion. They were made with their own natures. You take a chicken and try to put it in a pond to swim, it will drown. But you put a duckling and it will swim. Because why? They were not made the same way. They were not created for the same purpose. Similarly, with mankind too, like every other creation, mankind were created with a nature. And if that nature were not pure and sinless, then no one can expect any goodness from man. But not only that, dear brothers and sisters, man should not have been blamed for committing sins if mankind were born in sin. Why blame a man to act according to his own nature? If he was born in sin, why blame him for committing sins? But it's not happening. No one can blame a mango tree for producing mangoes. Why? That's what we were created for, to produce mangoes. It is because that's the very nature of the mango tree, to produce mangoes. Similarly, if mankind were born in sin, how could anyone blame mankind for committing sins? But this is not so. This is not so. On the contrary, we can all observe that mankind were all born sinless, because mankind generally are lovers of righteousness and goodness. Mankind are generally lovers of righteousness and goodness. Man hates the very sight of sins, although he may be guilty of committing sins at times, but he hates the very sight of it. Whenever a man may commit sins, his conscience upbraids him, and he feels guilt and regret. Why? It is because he have done something against his own nature. Take a case. If a man was passing by and he see a bad action, let's see a young man take advantage of an old man, a beggar. He does not do the act, but he's upset. He sees something against his own nature, not as doing that act. So, why? It's because what he has seen there upsets him. That's something totally against his very nature that Allah has made him with. A pure nature, a righteous nature, to love righteousness. That's why if he sees something against that nature, right away he's upset. While on the other hand, if he should do maybe a little good, he feels great satisfaction. Why? It is because he have done something consistent with his own nature. If you're walking by the roadway and you see a hungry man and you have a few dollars in your pocket and you buy some food or give him his hand, see how good you feel about it. It's as though you've been paid for that, but you have that great satisfaction within you that I have done something very good. Take, for instance, a blind person want to cross a road. Hold a person's hand and cross him over the road and see how good you feel about it. Why? It is because your very nature is godly. Therefore, based upon the laws of nature, dear brothers and sisters, itself, in which Allah has created all of mankind, we can all notice that mankind were all born sinless with a pure nature. His very nature stands as the strongest testimony to this. Mankind are lovers of goodness and righteousness. Even though he may make a mistake, even though he may commit sins at times, but he is a lover of goodness. That's why we find people giving their life for the country, giving their life for their fellow man, for their family, taking care of their children. They sacrifice all they have for their family members and so forth. Why? It's because they make sacrifices for the betterment of themselves and family and the pleasure of Allah. Why? It's because their very nature yearns for goodness. This then is the very first point, which was based upon the claim and its consistency with the laws of nature itself. Nature points to that. The way we created is telling mankind, telling the world, and telling us at the same time that we were born with a pure nature, a sinless nature. Our second point, in substantiating the fact that mankind were born sinless and that Islam is a natural religion of all mankind, is its influence upon the human race. That is, what impact did the influence of Islam had upon the lives of the people who first witnessed it? How strong was it and how lasting was it? For this, for us to understand and be fully aware of this, we need to look back some 1400 years ago and consider the state of affairs then. When the Holy Prophet Adventist war, what were the condition of the people? Let's take a look at it. What was the condition then regarding the people's way of life? The Holy Prophet made his advent in the world nearly 600 years after Prophet Jesus, peace upon him. This was during the 6th century, way back in the 6th century. And in those times, the world was not as we know it today. I would like to quote a historian, a non-Muslim historian. I'll quote J.H. Denison, writing in his book, Emotions as the Basis of Civilization. And he writes, I quote, "In the 5th and 6th centuries, the civilized world stood on the verge of chaos. The old emotional cultures that had made civilization possible, since they had given to men a sense of unity and of reverence for their rulers, had broken down, and nothing had been found adequate to take their place. It seemed then that the great civilization, which had taken 4,000 years to construct, was on the verge of disintegration." This is on page 265, unquote. Here this person writing upon history, way back in the 6th century. What were the condition of the people then? This is coming from the pen of a man who is not a Muslim, giving the picture of the condition of the world at the advent of Islam, at the advent of the Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu. Idol worshipping was practiced generally amongst all the nations of the world. Polygamy was practiced to an unlimited extent, not only in Arabia, but in many parts of the world. A man could marry as many wives as he wanted. There's no limit to it. Fire worship held sway over Persia, and the kings were considered as gods. The house of Israel was in a total wreck. Jesus' people and him had come and gone without producing any real effect upon the Jews. The Christians, in a short span of time, had rendered the condition worse by falling from the practice of the teaching of the gospel, etc. In Arabia, utter darkness and barbarism prevailed, so no social laws were observed. Like I've said before, a man could commit any type of indecency he wants to freely. There were no vices which were not freely practiced by the Arabs before the advent of Islam. Dear brothers and sisters, this and much more, in short, was a real picture of the condition of the people at the advent of the Holy Prophet of Islam. A more downtrodden people it would be hard to find, but Dr. Bosworth Smith states that clearly. A more downtrodden and backward people it would be very hard to find. In a few words, try to describe the condition of the state of the people at the advent of Islam. Of course, but that not only all. All attempts to reform these very backward people had all met with total failures. Of course, there were systems and religions existing then too, such as we had Buddhism, we had Sabians, we had Zoroastrians, Judaism, Christianity, and even paganism. all resisting, all were there, but they could not transform these people. Nothing could have transformed these very backward people, and the war for that matter at that time, in the 6th century. Yet, these very people were totally reformed at the hand of the Prophet of Islam within less than a quarter of a century. Just imagine, centuries before him, thousands of years before him, these people were living barbaric lives. All attempts to change them had failed. They could not be changed. Yet for all, within a quarter of a century, these very barbaric people would have been transformed. What was the miracle behind this? And what was the source behind this unique miracle of transforming a more downtrodden and backward people in such a short span of time? The miracle is Islam, and the source is the Holy Quran. With the call of Islam, the Holy Prophet awakened the people. He awakened the people, the consciousness to their own natures, the nature made by Allah, in which He has created all of mankind. They became awake to who they were now. Islam awakened them, like they were sleeping, they were in slumber, and now they are awake, fully awake. They messed with Islam in their hearts. They became fully awake and realized who they really were and what was their real object of life. My brothers and sisters, these same people who were bent upon evil and immoralities were now vying for righteousness and high moral qualities. Why? It was because Islam was their natural religion, and the message of Islam touched their hearts so much so that they were willing and ready to die for it if need be. The love and respect which Muhammad ﷺ commanded from his followers far excelled any other leaders, spiritual or otherwise, brothers and sisters. At the Battle of Uhud, when the Holy Prophet people were exposed to the arrows of the Quraysh, there was a battle of Uhud, and that battle, Quraysh saw a loophole, and they saw him. And when his followers realized that he was exposed to danger, they made a human barrier around him at the expense of their own lives. They were dying there, but they could not let anything harm the Holy Prophet for him. Zaid, another companion to the Prophet, this was his close companion. They captured him and was chopping him piece after piece and asked him to renounce Islam, and he would not. Imagine the pain, the agony, chopping you one piece after another piece, and ask you to renounce Islam, and he would not. They finally asked him, wouldn't you be happy to know that where Muhammad was where you are right now and you are in Muhammad's place? And he said to them, even in that agonizing pain, he told them, he said, I would not be happy to know that a thorn should prick the feet of Muhammad to change places for him. I would rather die in this agony, but let him be saved. Can you imagine the love and admiration that people, his followers, had for him? Hazrat Bilal was placed on the burning sands of Arabia, the midday sands of Arabia. You can't imagine the heat. And they put him there with a big rock upon his chest and asked him to renounce Islam. And all he would go unconscious and says, Allahu Ahad, Allahu Ahad, Allah is one, Allah is one. And you go unconscious. Now these were just few incidents of the people and their behavior to the extreme love they had for the Prophet of Islam. Because the message that he brought to them awakened them. Those were the very same backward people who only yesterday, so to speak, were ashamed to be called human beings. But today, with the call of Islam, they were making their names in history for righteousness' sake in golden letters. Today when we hear their names, we call for blessing for them, upon them. But these very backward, these were the same backward people that were living for centuries before in the immoralities. The influence of Islam upon the people is nothing unknown even today, dear brothers and sisters. It is claimed that of all religious personalities and leaders of men, Muhammad, peace be upon him, exercised the greatest influence upon mankind. This is coming from the pen of a man who is not a Muslim. As a matter of fact, he is a Jew and a Christian by religion, a Jew by descent. And his name is Dr. Michael Hart, mentioned in the 100 people most influential in history, and he named Muhammad as number one. Number one. And you look in the Encyclopedia Britannica, and you'll find the same in that text, historical text, Muhammad influence, number one. Wherever Islam went, it captivated the hearts of the people because of its strong appeal to their own natures by sound logic and reason. Persia, Syria, Egypt, Afghanistan, and the whole of the Middle East, etc., were all within a short span of time converted to Islam. Islam claims to be the natural religion of all mankind, and its strong influence upon the human race fully substantiates this fact. Even today, England and the Western world are fast embracing Islam, so much so that it is claimed that by the turn of the 20th century, Islam shall be the dominant religion even in the Western lands, dear brothers and sisters. You know, many slanders have been placed upon Islam. Islam was spread by the sword. Islam is a brutal religion. But what's happening today? In the Western land today, England, United States, and other parts of the Western world are fast embracing Islam. There is no sword being lifted against them. But when they become Muslim now, they are propagating Islam from their heart, in sincerity, for they know this is their natural religion. What is captivating the hearts of mankind even today to accept Islam in such magnitude? It is claimed that by the turn of the 20th century, Islam shall be the number one religion. Strong influence upon the hearts of mankind, no force have ever been used to convert anyone to Islam. Because of time, I must end here. Dear brothers and sisters, Islam's claim that mankind were all born sinless, born to be upright, and that Islam is mankind's natural religion stands obviously substantiated by the observance of the claim and its consistency with the laws of nature, and by strong influence upon the hearts of mankind, even at a time when nothing else could have succeeded to reform the lives of the people. Embracing Islam is really embracing the religion of our very natures. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam came at a time in the world when nothing else could have transformed these people, but it transformed them within a short span of time. It's still doing the right thing today. Those who have a chance to listen to Islam, people have spread so much slanders against Islam that those who heard these slanders would not want to think about reading about what is Islam. But those who do it have realized that this is the religion of my own nature. Islam is our religion of man's nature. Our nature yearns for Islam. May Allah open our hearts to the Deen Islam, dear brothers and sisters, the religion of all mankind. And I pray Allah subhanahu that whatever we have said here tonight will be a blessing to all of us, and our hearts be open to the call of Islam, our call of Allah subhanahu. I thank you all for listening, and may Allah bless us all. Asalam O Alaikum.